Hello, welcome there. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today I'm in the book of Kings and I'm working through chapters 12 and 13 today. I'm going to summarise each one and we'll start right now. So we learned yesterday that Solomon has now passed away and his son is to be proclaimed king as long as the Israelites okay this. So Rehoboam, which is King Solomon's son, he is the next in line to become king. He goes to Shechem to talk to the Israelites and they ask him, they will consider him to be their king if he will lighten their load, because his father, Solomon, had been quite hard on them with the taxes and with the service that he was requiring of them. So they're asking for things to be lightened up there. So he tells the people to go away for 3 days and then he goes and consults the elders and asks them, what do you think I should do? Now, meanwhile, Jeroboam, who was the one who fled from Solomon because he was going to kill him, he was one of Solomon's adversaries. He was a chief inside of the Israelites. He'd gone to Egypt to escape because he was given a prophecy saying that he would become king once Solomon died. So he now hears the news that Solomon has passed and his son now is looking to take on the role. So he leaves Egypt and he returns to Israel. So Rehoboam, he is asking the elders for advice and they tell him, look, do as the people ask and the people will love you and they will, be servants to you. That's the best advice. He doesn't like this advice, so he goes to the younger people that he's grown up with and he asks them, what do you think? And their advice is basically punish them harder, make them work harder, give them more taxes, that kind of thing, so that they will, rein them in. That's how they kind of think of it. And this is the advice he ends up taking. So he goes back to Shechem, meets the people after this 3 days and tells them this is what he's going to do, which they do not like. And basically they're not going to listen. So he goes back to his city of David, where he still reigns over the Judah tribe and the Benjamin tribe. I just wanted to give some clarification here because yesterday in my previous video covering chapters 10 and 11 of Kings, I talked about that extra tribe. We weren't sure where that tribe was going to go because there was 10 tribes it was talking about and one tribe would be ruled by King Solomon's son. Well, that one tribe is basically a combination of Judah and Benjamin, so they make up the one tribe. That then makes everything clear because there's 12 tribes in Israel, so 2 are actually ruled by Solomon's son and the other 10, we're soon going to find out what happens to them. Now Rehoboam sends out Adoniram, which is the tax collector guy. He sends him out to the tribes to get the money like his father Solomon always used to do. But the people have gone into rebellion and they stone him to death. So who is to become king of the main 10 camps of Israel? Jeroboam. He is the one that was prophesied to become king and he has stepped into that role. Now when Rehoboam hears about this, he is furious. So he decides to wage war on the Israelites and he gets together an army with his Judah and Benjamin tribes. However, God sends a man by the name of Shemaiah and he warns the Israelites not to go to war with one another. And this message obviously gets to them because it says that they do not wage war. They turn back, decide not to do it. So Jeroboam, now king, he lives in Shechem because obviously he can't live in the city of David where the palace of Solomon is because that's where his son resides. So he fortifies the city of Shechem against any attack of war. He's also quite fearful that the Israelites might turn and go back towards Solomon's son and have him reign over them. So to avoid this, what he does is he creates another god. He basically makes 2 calves out of gold. And these are idols to worship. He places one in Bethel and one in Dan. Plus he decides to make anybody who wants to be a priest, so consecrates whoever he decides, so they don't have to be part of the Levite tribe, which is what God has always proclaimed. Plus he has festivals on the day he decides and he burns sacrifices just in totally different ways to the laws that have been put down by God in the book that Moses wrote. So you can see this new king is leading the Israelites on a downward spiral as we close chapter 12. Now chapter 13 is quite a strange chapter. It starts with a man from God who has no name, but we know that he came from the Judah tribe, so he's come from that area. It's almost like they're the only ones still part of God, because the Israelites now have a ruler who is making them look to two golden calves as a god. So he travels from Judah and he goes towards where King Jeroboam is, and he is at the altar making a sacrifice when he meets him. And this is what he says while he's at this altar. He said, "The Lord told me that a son will be born by the name of Josiah, and he will come from David's tribe." Now this person would sacrifice the high priests and burn human bones on the altar. Now Jeroboam, hearing this, that it's like somebody's going to come and it's obviously going to take over his area, he gets angry and he points to have this man taken away. Now as he does this, his hand goes all limp and he can't pull it back in. He's sort of stuck. And the altar that he is near, it breaks in two and ashes pour out of it as a warning. So Jeroboam then stops his ways and he pleads with this man of God, "Please stop my hand from being this way so I can put it back." So the man from God, he speaks to God and his hand is restored to the way that it was. Now once this is done, King Jeroboam asks the man of God, "Come back, we'll give you refreshments, stay here a while." And the man from God says, "No, God told me I must leave, go back a different way from the way I came and not take any refreshments from anyone, and that's what I'm going to do." So he sets off on his journey back to the Judah tribe. Meanwhile, an old prophet in the area hears of this prophet who's come and said this to Jeroboam, and he wants to go and find him. So he gets his sons and they find him. And when they find him, they say to him, "Oh, we'd love to, offer you refreshments," because the guy obviously looks tired and he's had nothing to eat and he's on his journey back. And so this old prophet wants to talk to him because they've got similar things going on, and I guess he's interested in how he's come to make this prophecy. And the guy from God, he says, "No, I can't. I have been told by God that I must go straight back to the Judah tribe." So the old prophet, he lies. And he said, "Well, I'm also a prophet just like you. And God has now spoken to me and said that you must come with me for refreshments and to stay with me." So the man from God believes what is said and he goes back to his home to get these refreshments. Then the old prophet really does then get a prophecy from God, and he tells him, "The man from God who has gone against my orders will now die, and he will not be buried with his ancestors, for he has gone against my rules." So the man from God leaves quickly, and on his return home, he's on his donkey, and a lion comes out, kills him on the roadside. There he is. He doesn't touch the donkey, the lion only kills the man himself. Now some people found the body, and they go and tell the old prophet that they found it, and he gets his sons to go and get the body. And we find that the lion hasn't actually eaten the man at all. He's killed him, but he hasn't taken all of the body. So they take that body and they bury it in their family tomb. And then we return to King Jeroboam. Now, do you think he's changed his ways after this prophet has basically risked his life to give him this message? No, not at all. He has carried on. In fact, things are getting worse. He's making more priests, consecrating them outside of the Levite tribe. He's got his idols going on. He's just constantly sinning all of the time. So we learned that at the end of this chapter, this sin will ultimately lead to the downfall of King Jeroboam. His house is going down. Obviously, this is what happens when you go against the Lord. We've learned this through many chapters within the Bible, that you follow his commandments, his rules, his laws, and you will be blessed. You don't follow them, you will be cursed. So he's not been following them, and so bad things are heading his way. That's what we're going to learn as we move on in these chapters in the Book of Kings. So if you want to carry on and find out more, then stay tuned, and I'll be back soon with more within the Book of Kings. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care. Bye.